Hey guys, welcome back for another video. I know it's been a little while, a little over a month since I put up a video. There's nothing wrong. First of all, thank you very much to everyone that's emailed and messaged me and commented and wondering, hey, what's going on? Nothing. I'm just enjoying life here in the new house. And the short answer is it's winter. That doesn't mean I'm not riding. I've actually been riding a lot with a couple new groups, one specifically here in the neighborhood. But it means that events here in Florida kind of die down. We've got a 1 to 2 month window here where there's really not that much going on besides the normal bike nights, which are just glorified beer specials. Seriously, it's just, hey, come on and park your bike and half off Bud Light. I have no interest in the bike nights around here. There's a couple cool ones in the warmer months that pick up, like Quaker Steak, but really, it's just to hang out with friends and maybe see some cool bikes if it's a special week event or something like that. Other than that, it's just a bunch of pirates drinking Bud Light, seriously, so they can have it. The demo fleets unfortunately skip Florida during this period. I don't know why. This is the perfect time for them to come down here because it's not rainy season. They can have a very clear schedule, but they do for whatever reasons, so I'm not able to bring you any really new reviews. So I've just been riding and hanging out with particularly a new group here in the neighborhood and been enjoying the local roads. So anyway, today, that's the channel update part. I also have some new tools coming any minute. I'm actually waiting on UPS. It's pretty late now, pushing 6 o'clock. But I have decided to finally bite the bullet and buy the tools needed to change my own tires. It's the only thing that I've been relying on dealers and shops for over the years. I do everything else here at home. And if you watched my last tire change video, I don't know how many months ago that was, seems like about a year, I had that nightmare of having to go back multiple times because they were just having some shop kid do it and he just completely failed. So I ended up having to take the wheels on and off the bike twice, wait for them to be done, take them back and forth from the shop. It was just not worth the hassle and I'm tired of it. This isn't the first time I've had to take things back because they weren't balanced right, or in this case, they just didn't put any weights on it and whatever. I'm done with it. So I've got tools coming in. I put up a little help, talk me in or out of it kind of post in the FJR group because that's where it's the I'll say the more experienced riders are in the groups I participate in, and got some really good answers. And I'll tell you, if I had unlimited garage space, some of you are blessed to have a 1, 2, 3 car garage, dedicated workshop space, unlimited tool bench space, that kind of thing. Man, if I had that, I mean, it'd be a no-brainer. I have an awesome no-mar setup, bolted to the floor, bing, bang, boom, do whatever I wanted to, but I'm in this relatively small space. I like to have enough room here to work on projects like this and not have to move stuff around and worry about bumping into stuff. This is perfect for me, so I don't want to eat up a lot of floor space. So I'm going with hand tools. Now, I'm not going to instruct anybody on how to do this process. This is the first time I'm ever going to attempt it. I've got 4,000 miles on the FZ09. These, well, at least the rear tire here is worn out, completely gone, and front isn't too far behind. They're riding just fine. There's just no tread left, so it's due. I've had my new set of Pilot 5s waiting to go. I picked them up on a really good sale. I couldn't pass it up, knowing that I would eventually, of course, need the change. So they've been here, good to go, and I'm going to attempt it myself as soon as the UPS comes. So I went with some no-mar tools. I'm basically following the advice of a video put out about a year ago by Motorcyclist Magazine, the MC Garage series, back when they were doing that channel. Great guys. And I made one change. They had suggested the Motion Pro balancing stand. Well, that thing gets terrible recent reviews. So I don't know if they made a manufacturing change. They probably, from the reviews, made a supplier change in the bearings that they're using, because the older reviews were all 5 stars, thumbs up, great product, blah, blah, blah. Well, the newer reviews, like in the last year and a half or so, lots of repeated problems with the bearings, saying they had to ship it back and forth, get new bearings from Motion Pro, etc. I want to avoid any kind of problems like that. So I went with a just slightly more expensive unit from, can't even remember, I'll put a link down below, but I got everything from RevZilla, ordered them a few days ago. It's on the truck for delivery right now. And that's it. So I'm gonna give it a shot. The sun is just about to go down, so I'm gonna be heating up the new tires with a hair dryer, using that method, just putting hair dryer in it, letting the air swirl around and heat up the tire. I have a heat gun, but I suspect that would be way too much heat, so I'm just gonna use the hair dryer. Other than that, I think it's gonna be a fairly straightforward process. The other thing that's gonna be new to me is taking the rear wheel off the FZ09. I had the front off when I did the fork service, or complete rebuild, I should say, but I've never had this rear off, and the only thing that's different about it is this rear license plate arm and mount, because it does go through the axle. I'm gonna just pull out the service manual and see what it says, but I think I'm gonna have to kind of hang it from the rear subframe somehow to keep it out of the way, kind of like a brake caliper. But other than that, should be good to go. So come on, Brown. Well, it looks like UPS screwed me on another set of shipments. I got 3 boxes coming in today. 1 shows exception, 2 show out for delivery. It's after 8 o'clock and nothing showed up. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the bike prepped, get the wheels off, and hopefully the stuff shows up tomorrow and then I can finish. So I'm gonna throw it up on the stands. And just a quick note about stands, I've seen a lot of people lately, especially on the FZ09 forums and groups, saying that their stands don't get the bike up enough to get their front wheels off. What that means is 1 or 2 of conditions. 1, you bought some really cheap stands that are the wrong size. They're not tall enough. These are pit pull. They work perfectly out of the box. No modifications necessary. 2, you have to have the right size pin. This pin is what goes up into your bottom triple tree and lifts the bike up. If you got the wrong pin and it's too short, that doesn't contact and it doesn't lift off the ground. This is only designed to lift the bike about 1 inch off the ground just to get clearance and get your wheel off. That's the whole point. But I've seen a lot of people with the wrong pin and they're doing all sorts of things. Welding on a socket, cutting down handles from other stuff. Just get the right pin, guys. It's not that difficult. So let's get this up in the air. So on each side we have 2 bolts to take out, and that will loosen our calipers. Be careful when you slide this out that you don't nick your wheel. A really good touch-up, though, if you do, is any little touch-up pen. I find at Walmart the gloss black is an exact match. These are dirty right now, but it really does match right out of the bottle. Then we got 1 pinch bolt over here, and we can unscrew our axle, and then the wheel will drop right out. 12mm socket on the rotors, 6 on the pinch bolt, and 14 on the axle. Well, look what just decided to turn up at 8:30. Good timing. So I'll get this unboxed, and I want to see that balancing stand. I'll show you what tools I got. And I got the front wheel all ready. So I got the forged steel, the longest version of the Bead Pro tools. They're a combination of bead breakers so you can get the tire off the rim, and spoons so you can get the new wheel on. I also got the rim shields which protect the rim, so when you're prying against the tire with the spoons you don't mar up your rim. Very important to me. And I got the biggest box they make of the black wheel weights, just so I will never have to buy them again. I got 360 of the 7-gram weights. Typically I'm using 3 or 4 per wheel max, so I'm good forever on all vehicles I ever want to do, and probably all my friends. And that was super cheap. Really wasn't that much more getting the big box than the little one, so that's kind of a no-brainer. And then I went with the Bike Master wheel balancing stand. And like I said, the only reason I didn't go with the Motion Pro, which was like 15 bucks cheaper, is because of all the negative reviews about the recent bearings on the Motion Pro, and the Bike Master had nothing but positive everywhere I looked. So we're going to give that a shot. And this, you can see it's a very small footprint. This is all I have to store. That's no problem for finding a space, probably just right up there on top of the shelf, and it'll be completely out of the way. So I'm just going to kind of wing the back here. Can't be that difficult. I know the rotor's got to, or the caliper has to come off the right, axle's got to come off, same as, making a chain adjustment. And I'll probably just bungee this over this and make sure nothing hits. Just get enough slack to take the chain off, and that should be it. I don't think it's going to be anything unusual. Let's find out. So we've got a 27 mil on the axle bolt, a combination of a 14 socket and a 6 hex for the rear rotor, or caliper. So the manual wants you to take everything apart. Screw that. Nothing. A couple towels and zip tie won't take care of. Just zip tie this up to here. Electrical cable holds that end. A couple towels just to prevent paint to paint contact. And out she comes. No big deal. Axle, make sure you take off your spacers, both front and rear. I like to set them down on the appropriate sides of the bike as soon as the wheels come off. Don't be like me and some others that have accidentally left them in and then lost them somewhere, especially if you're taking them into a shop to be changed. So I started unboxing the balancing stand here. Got a little bit of assembly to do. Just a bunch of bearings and side parts to bolt all together. And that's what it should look like in a minute. And there we go. All nice and put together. And I do have some extra parts. They're called stabilizers, and that's called an indicator rod. I'm not exactly sure what they're for. My guess is spoked wheels, but I know I don't need them. I'm just using this top single rod with the collars and cones. The wheel will go on here. These cones will center it in the wheel bearings, and then this is free to spin. Now, it's important when you get one of these, whether it's this brand or the Motion Pro or the cheaper ones like Harbor Freight, these bearings must be flawless. If they're not, it affects your balancing of the wheel. So these are what all the negative reviews have been centered around, people getting these and these not being flawlessly rolling. So if it doesn't spin absolutely without catch, then you can't use it. So that is good to go. It's got a bubble level here, and it's a good thing they poured my garage here perfectly level. But all 4 feet do screw in to level the whole device, should you need to. Just remembered something I need, a valve core remover. I've got one somewhere because last year I'd contemplated switching from stick-on weights to the balancing bead, so I got a bead kit, decided not to do it after a lot of feedback from people that had problems with it. So I figured, why fix something that ain't broke? But I kept the valve core remover somewhere. Problem is, I have moved since then. Yeah, I gotta find that, because that's the first thing I have to do to get these tires off the rims. Well, I know I'm gonna find it as soon as I'm done with this project, but in the meantime, we've got a new one. All right. So now I've got to let the air out of the tires by removing the valve core. And that's just using the tool here and unscrewing the center section, the little bit that gets pushed in by your normal tire gauge. That'll let all the air out. And then I'm just going to, like I said, follow the motorcyclist video. I'll put a link down below for anyone that wants to do this themselves. And break the bead using the tools and my knees and get it off the rim. Now, the only thing about this whole process that I'm concerned about is protecting the finish of the wheels. Right now they're perfect. Even using a shop though, I've got so many dings and scratches on the FJR there from having other people do it. So, I'm not expecting to be perfect myself, but I'm going to try to protect it as much as I can. That's why I've got the rim protectors. But I'm sure that I'm going to do some damage. If not today, then sometime in the future. And like I said, the little touch-up pen at Walmart works great. At least on these Yamaha black rims. Tell you what, I am really hoping this is the worst case scenario. Original tire in the front, super stiff. That thing fought me every inch of the way around both sides to break that bead. It doesn't even begin to flex by hand or standing on it or anything. I'm bending this thing so hard with the tools, I'm afraid I'm going to bend the rim. Super stiff. I don't know how I'm going to get that spoon in there to start it coming over the lip. That is freaking scary. I hope that rear tire is a lot easier. That's all I have to say. Oh yeah, and I'm a big guy, and it sucks working on the floor. I forgot how much I hate it, because it's been a while since I built that bobber. Yeah, not fun. Okay, so let me give you the tip I found. If you find yourself in this situation with just a super stiff tire, I had to make 2 passes. Did both sides, actually started to break it loose, but it wasn't quite off the lip, so it wasn't giving me any kind of slack. Flipped it back over, started doing it again, and here's what you have to do. Get your tools in there, and you gotta kind of reinsert it a couple times because it wants to snap and pop back off the lip. Keep going down until they're flat together. If they're still like this, you're not going to clear the lip on the rim itself. Keep pushing this down until they touch, and that gives you the leverage you need to actually pop it off. And then once that happens, you can work it back around. If you don't do that, nothing else will happen, because you need that to be off that physical ridge inside to give yourself physical slack to get the spoons in to bend it around. So that's the key. You might have to do 2 passes and make those flat and give it a couple different insertions to give yourself the right point. Well, I got myself in a little pickle. I put the rim protectors on, popped the tire over, and it immediately captured them. And they are quite stuck. I'm kind of still trying to figure out how to get one of those out or continue to get the tire off. It is really locked in place. Now I'm sure it's just my technique making this extremely difficult compared to what it should be, but I'm an hour into this, halfway done. Absolutely ridiculous. It took pounding with a mallet to get one of those things out. I'm sure I just, like I said, was doing it wrong. Maybe I had them too close together, or I was supposed to do one at a time. I don't know. But at this moment, I'm going to reserve judgment till I get the rear done. But at this moment, man, I'm regretting doing this at home. I'm sure the next one or the next set is going to be a lot easier. But right now, I'm going to take a frustration break. Keeping the videos real, guys. Okay, well, overall that sucked. But lessons learned. So let's go ahead and get that back one off. I'm 99% sure it's going to be a lot easier. I'm going to have more room to work with. Just, getting things into position, and it's definitely not going to be as stiff. This just had so much stiff sidewall and such little flexible section. It was just tough. Now I know why virtually every video you see about how to do it is only doing the rear wheel. I think they'd turn a lot of people off if they showed how difficult some of these fronts can really be. But let's go ahead and do the rear. I can't get much worse than an hour. Let's see how long it takes me to do the rear. Day and night difference. This bead broke with one pinch and just stepping on it. This is how easy it is in the videos I've seen. All right, this one should only take me a few minutes to get off. So this flip side wasn't quite as easy as the first. I had to walk around about a quarter of the way and work different spots before it would slide off, but finally got it. Still way easier than the front. All right, I just finished getting this first side off. Got it down. The next one I do will be a hell of a lot faster. So what I struggled with and learned how to do on this one, it was actually very easy to break the bead on the bigger tire, but I was having trouble getting it to lift over the rim. It just wanted to flex in all the wrong places. So what I had to learn was how far apart to spread the spoons to get it to go. So you do one, and I wish I had an easy measurement for you, but it's, at least for me right now, trial and error, just go by feel. With the first one there in the middle, ended up right about there. If it's a clock, about 1 hour's worth of spread. That seemed to be about right. If I went just a couple inches further, it would just slip back in and I couldn't get it to do anything. If it was too close together, everything would just pinch and lock down on the rim, and I'd have to start over. So it was just going by feel to get it to come free, and then just leaving one in place, figuring out how far to move the second one to pop it back over. It took me about 4 reprise to get it to come off by hand. And again, going maybe double that, like 2 hours worth for the next prize was the right distance for this tire. So I'm gonna finish getting this off the rim, and now we get to put the new tires on. Okay, in goes the hair dryer. I'll give this 10 or 15 minutes and put some heat into the new rear tire here before trying to get it on. So this is interesting. I was just scanning the tires here, making sure I've got the correct side for rotation and to find the weight marking. There is usually, at least, some little paint marking, and that's designating the lightest part of the tire that you line up with the valve stem, just to minimize the amount of weight that you're going to need when you balance the tires. There's nothing on here. I'm not kidding. I have scoured both sides of both the front and rear tires, and there is nada. I see no marking. Front is the same. I've got nothing. Usually it's a little yellow, like a paint mark. Okay then. Well, it's not super critical. Just means it's kind of a crapshoot. Make sure there's nothing on the inside. For mounting it, you may have to use a little extra weight. We shall see. But anyway, chain is on the left. Looking at that, it needs to go counterclockwise. So where is my directional indicator here? They only put it on one side of these tires. And man, where is it? Rotation right there. All right, so this is the side that needs to mount. Let's get her on while it's still warm. This is absolutely ridiculous. I've been fighting with this for half an hour. Just will not go in. This is about as close as I can get it. And it just sits there and pops back out. You need 3 people, or at least 3 sets of hands. I mean, I'm kneeling on it to try to put weight on it, because I have to put all my weight on it to lever this thing, and it lifts up this end. Standing on this to stop it from popping out. This is just a complete waste of time. I'm glad I bought the balancer, because that's what I have problems with when I get it back from the shop. But I'm never doing this again. This is just ridiculous. I will gladly just run these down to a shop, have them zip these on and off, and I'll do the balancing. That is the way to go for me, at least. I'm not saving any time, and this is just no fun. I'm having 0 amounts of fun doing this kind of crap. Oh man, and I am sweating up a storm. I gotta take a break, because this thing is just frustrating me to no end. It's almost like it's too small. I know it's not, but it's just ridiculously tight. Even when it was warm, it didn't make any difference. Okay, rookie mistake. I was not kneeling on it enough to keep the tire in the center of the rim. It was too far up on the bead. I could not get that thing set. But once I got it further down and got enough slack, it went in okay. Still a complete pain in the ass though. What a complete and utter pain in the ass this is. This is not saving me one bit of time. I will never do this again. Only in a dire emergency. That's the part I wanted. This will make sure that they never screw up, and I can at least, at the very least, check their balance after it's done. Or just balance it myself, okay? That's cool. This does not save me a penny. This is taking me longer to do than taking to a shop and waiting, or coming back. This front tire I've got it in the channel. I mean, it's got as much slack as possible. It's just so awkward and so incredibly tight. I've got a kneel on here, which sucks for me because my knees are not in great shape and it hurts. Whole thing wants to come up. You get it in the slot, you take the tool out and it pops back. I mean, wow. Oh, I have no idea why anyone thinks this is fun. Screw you, tire. You're on. All right. Time to put the valve stems back in and put some air in, seat the beads, and then slap them back on the bike. Well, this is just icing on the friggin' cake and solidifies my decision. My compressor doesn't have enough capacity to pop the tire onto the bead. Just sits there and bubbles around the side. I lubed it, I stretched it, bounced it, will not begin to fill with air. So now I'm off to a tire shop anyway to recycle the 2 tires and get them to pop these onto the rims. Done with the DIY. So if you got one of these little pancakes, forget about trying to pop a tire. You need a lot more fast capacity. With this one, it only goes up to 100 PSI, which may be a little low, it may be okay, but as soon as you touch it to the tire, I mean, the thing goes, you only get like 3 or 4 seconds above 50 PSI, and that's not enough. So, fair warning to anyone thinking about DIYs. At least this video is filled with lots of tips on what not to do and things to look out for, even though it didn't work out. But like I said, still glad I got the balancer. I'm looking forward to doing that. Just gotta do this one last step. Yay! Ran down to the tire shop, recycled the old ones. They used their good compressor, popped these in, no problemo. Now I'm just gonna pump them up to correct PSI and we'll get them on the balancing stand. So an interesting note here. Oh, first of all, I did some reading and found that Michelin stopped doing the weight mark. They just have a manufacturing process that is supposed to create their tires perfectly round, and they don't have a light spot anymore. So you mount it anywhere you want and then, fine tune it from there. The other interesting thing was neither of these tires or wheels have any weights on them, which means they were perfectly balanced from the factory. And I've had this well into the triple digits, smooth as glass. So that's pretty cool. I'm anxious to see how they static balance just as is. I'm not expecting them to be perfect. I don't know what kind of process they have during the manufacturing process, if they do any kind of matching or if it's just pure luck that I got 2 that were perfect. So the only damage I did were 2 little scrapes there. It's not gouged or anything, it's just the finish from the spoons just rubbing on it. So touch-up paint. Fully expected that, especially the first time. So I'm no better than the shop, but like I said, that's why I got the touch-up paint. Okay, got them both aired up. Now we need to put one of them on here. This just works as a dummy axle. And then I will slide one of these cones up. I don't think I need these at all, these little stoppers here. I think I just need the cones. I was just going by the little diagram. The instructions didn't really have anything to say about how to use it or how to assemble it. So I'll take these 2 off and just use the cones, snug it up somewhere near the center, and we are perfectly level, and we'll see what happens. So it's almost perfect, just barely out of balance. It just slowly settles to a point here. So I'm going to mark the top light point with some tape. It's actually right about in line with this rubber seam mark here. And it looks like I'm probably going to start with 1 weight and probably even have to trim that to get it perfect. Yeah, well, so much for Michelin's excellent manufacturing process. Here's the tip, Michelin. Put back the weight mark, because that would have saved some of these weights. 4 weights it took to balance this guy. Again, just randomly putting it on, because that's what you're supposed to do with the latest Michelin. All right, so I'm gonna permanently affix these 3 here. I just kept adding them until I got a perfect balance anywhere I leave it. And that's what it likes. So, on to the next. All right, done with the front. A little concerning, maybe it's nothing. Just seems unusual to me. It took 5 weights. These are 1/4 ounce, 7 gram. And I don't remember ever having that many on a wheel. Usually, I'm seeing 2 and 3. I checked my other bike here and I've got 3 on the back and 1 on the front. But, you know, maybe it's just nothing unusual. But anyway, it's balanced. And they do have larger weights, and maybe past bikes when I got it back from the shop, they were using the larger weights. I've never paid attention. It's just nothing I never had to do anything with. Anyway, that part's done. Now we can just get it reassembled, align the rear wheel, and that should be it. Set chain tension. I used the Motion Pro alignment tool, works great. Where'd that go? There it is. So you just put this on the rear sprocket and sight down the bar along the chain. And when it's perfectly straight with the chain, you've got your wheel aligned. Works great. I don't have a problem at all using the stock adjusters. I know a lot of people say they do, and they switch them out for admittedly easier to manipulate adjuster units, but this is just a set nut and a nut there. Just turn it with a wrench and keep it steady as I'm tightening the axle nut. I've never had it move on me, so you know, I'm not fixing that because it ain't broke. And back together. Whew! All right, that was a project. Quick tip, whenever you have your calipers off, make sure you pump your levers before coming back down off the stands. Believe me, that's a mistake if, like me, you ever make. You're only going to make it once. Okay, final thoughts. So even though this isn't something I would care to do again, I understand there certainly are circumstances where one might want to do it, even though it's a complete pain in the ass. If you have a tire changing stand that can hold the wheel in place and give you leverage, that's going to be, I can't imagine how much easier that would be. But as you can see, I'm rather short on space. I only have this little area over here where I can store stuff. So not willing to do that just to change tires, but that definitely would have helped. This complete manual process, I'm glad I got the tools. I'm glad I learned something new because I love learning new stuff. But I'm very glad I got the balancing stand so I can at least, like I said, double check them when I do get them back from a shop and rebalance them if needed. So I won't ever have the problem that I set out to solve, and that's having to go back to a shop time after time again because they didn't do it right. Now I can fix anything at home should the need arise. So there you go, guys. I hope this has taught you something. I certainly learned a lot. I'm one where I learn by doing. I know a lot of people learn different ways. You can just watch me and watch my mistakes, and that's good enough for you. Some people like to read. I like video. You know, everybody's different, but this was my experience, and that's it. We'll see you next time.